All right. Hello and welcome to the Hedonistic Way at Midday show. I'm Renee Main and I have got the most glorious guest to introduce to you guys today. He is a spiritual navigator. He's the founder of S8CRED Embodiment. He is Brother Ra. His wisdom of this land and culture is absolutely infinite, and his respect and sacredness just oozes from his pores. Life is his ultimate adventure, and he's absolutely devoted to this path of spirit, vibration, and energy, not just for himself, but for everyone who enters into his field. He is absolutely medicine, and I do kind of feel like I have royalty on the show today. So, Rameka, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Good morning. Thank you very much for the introduction. I am me. Thank you for having me on the show. Yeah.
It is my pleasure. It's someone who, you've been on my radar for a while, and there is something so absolutely sacred about you. And I really want to ask you, what is alive in you right now?
Right now.
Right now.
What's alive in me right now, obviously given the times that we are in, is understanding that we are the change.
Yeah.
Understanding that we are the change, because there's a lot obviously going on.
Yeah.
You have to excuse the noise in the background because we are in a big household given quarantine.
Yeah.
So we are the change that we came here to be. Given the times that we are in now and everything that's happening in the world, the world has literally changed in the space of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, give or take, right? So I was recently in Bali on a beautiful retreat. And we were disconnected from all technology for 8 days. So we went in, things were sort of talk about everything going on, and they weren't too bad. And then 8 days later, come out and the world had changed.
Yeah.
Now, given the work that I do, I deal in visions, I deal in connections and source and messages and abilities. I'm known for a long time, I've been shown for a long time about things coming, the things that we are now in, the things that we are experiencing as a global community. I guess there was that part of me that didn't expect that it would happen in our lifetime.
Absolutely.
I guess when we look at it, all the movies told about it. You have different TV shows that talk about it. You have different psychics and seers and healers that have channeled all this information about it, including myself.
Yeah.
We have our ancestors that foretold of these times to come because we are the children they prophesied about.
Yeah.
So where we are in the world, what's real for me right now is for people to understand that we are the change.
Yeah.
Mahatma Gandhi spoke the words, be the change.
Yeah.
For me personally, I feel it's gotten to a point where people have to understand and realize that we are the change. We can't rely on a government that doesn't honor us, that is not there to serve us. We can't rely on a government that is there to manipulate and control and bring out laws behind the scenes and X, Y, Z, right?
Yeah.
understanding that we are the change and the medicine exists within all of us.
Yeah.
This is how we come together. This is how we realize what we're here to do. And this is how we bring change to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm seeing two sides of the coin, and that's really like, there's one side where people have really got that fire in their belly and they're saying, man, like, this is what we've been training for, like, this is it, like, you know, and where other people have been, you know, fearful. And what do you say about those sides of the coin? And for the people who are feeling, you know, fearful, and it's a funny position to be in, because you kind of go, okay, you know, you're compassionate to everything, you know, everyone that's lost their jobs, and, you know, there's real issues, and I don't want to discredit that, but there's also so much beauty in it as well. So what do you speak of that?
About the fear?
Yeah.
I guess, you know, there's always two choices.
Mm.
We can go left, we can go right.
Yeah.
Me, I tend to go straight down the middle. carve my own path.
Yeah.
But we have a choice, right? In each and every single moment, we have a choice whether we come from love. We have a choice whether we come from fear. And I know fear is rampant right now, and understandably so, with the virus,
Yeah.
with people losing their jobs by the thousands.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of uncertainty around, you know. At the end of the day, it's bringing it back into the self, right? Because we are all here for a reason. There is no coincidence that we are all here right now experiencing what we're experiencing as a global human race. You know, so bringing it back to the self, bringing it back into your body, into your physical being, through breath work, through meditation, through prayer, through affirmation, through exercise, through healthy living, whatever it is for you, whatever works for you, because we are all different, we all operate differently, we all have different systems, but whatever works for you is finding what works for you and returning to that within. It's working with what you already know, given your experience so far, and being open to what you don't. Right? And, you know, for me, and I've said it quite a bit, given these times that we're in, fear is the greatest virus there is.
Yeah.
You know, it's big. Once fear gets into you, it's very difficult to break out of that energy and vibration. However, it can be done. And I guess seeing these moments as an opportunity. So I wrote a post this morning, and I spoke about not focusing on the apocalypse, but focus on the revolution. And however you want to look at it, however a person wants to look at it, that is what we are in. We are in the revolution because we are in the Great Awakening, you know. And this is the time when we all, majority of us, are in isolation, quarantine. These are the times where you get to really come back into the self. Focus on the self and not get lost in distractions like video games and Netflix. And there's nothing wrong with all of that. Sure, take your time out, but make sure that you check in and back with yourself, that you're growing mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, so that when things do turn around, because they will turn around, they will turn around. It's important that people realize that, because a lot of people are losing hope. And a lot of people are losing hope, so it's important to come back to that and see everything as an opportunity. So how can I grow in this space? If you're feeling afraid, if you're feeling worried, uncertain, negative, whatever it may be, take a deep breath. Bring it back to the self. Am I safe? What is the best thing for me to do right now? Is it to disconnect from the internet? Is it to disconnect from social media? Is it to do some exercise? Is it to go meditate? Is it to go do breath work? Is it to have a cold shower or a cleansing bath? Whatever it may be, find what works for you, because that is what will help bring you through that. And remembering at the same time, there are those out there that can assist, like myself. Right, there are many people out there that are holding the line and driving forward strong, who can help you.
Yeah, and that's a good point to remember, is because often we feel so alone, and you know, whether we're in isolation or quarantine or not, it's, you know, there's always that feeling like we're alone. And just remembering that you can still reach out, you know, you still absolutely can reach out. And I love what you just said then, is because I was thinking the same thing this morning. Is I think it's let's say ironic that this happens so close to Easter, and so often, as you know, the human race, we focused over Easter, we focus on the crucifixion, and we focus on that, but really it's about the resurrection. Like, that part of it is so much more powerful and prominent, and what happens during that time in between, that is really, and there's such potency in that space. How did you get to this as a spiritual navigator? How did you get to this point in your life where you become this channel of peace and calmness and sacredness? And even before all of this happened, is something that drew me to you is the respect that you have for culture and the land. So I really want to ask about your journey with that, and why is that so alive in you?
So, what was the first part you just mentioned again?
The channel of calmness and peace.
Okay. Yeah. So I honor you mentioning that. Thank you very much. I will mention that, you know, I'm not always a channel of calm and peace.
No.
As you know, we're all human.
Yeah.
There are times when I'm a raging storm.
Yeah.
In regards to things that take place, because I literally feel it.
Yeah.
When things take place, I feel it on my body and my energy. It's like sweat energy. And there are times when it will overwhelm me, and I have to do my own process of shifting it all.
Yeah.
I guess you know, nothing to me. One of your greatest teachers is experience, right? And I have a lot of experience in many different things. And there were times when I guess I felt like giving up.
Yeah.
There were times where, I mean, we all have those moments. We all have the moments that break us, that hold us back. We all have, and at the end of the day, like I said before, you know, we all have a choice.
Yeah.
And in a lot of those moments, I chose this way instead of that way.
Yeah.
However, no way is right or wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, because it all gets to where we are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So my passion for sacredness, I guess, does come from the fact that I am Māori from New Zealand. My passion for sacredness does come from the fact that I see things that are needed, energetically, spiritually, and I have a deep, thunderous passion for Mother Earth. You know, and I see different things playing out in humanity, in communities, in relationships that I see physically, firsthand, where, you know, there's such a disconnect from what is sacred. And for me, if we were to start remembering things that are sacred, we will find a better tune into the flow of the universe of who we are and why we're here. You know, so for me, holding that sacred reverence for Mother Earth, for culture, because I do believe the cultures of the world, they're naturally in tune with the earth.
Yeah.
They are naturally in tune with spirit and the earth, right? And I guess part of my passion is to help people remember that. Because when they can remember that piece, when you can remember the sacredness in all life, you remember your path and your journey here. Why? Because it connects to the spirit of who you are. It connects to the soul essence of who you are, which is why cultures are so connected, because they remember that sacredness, which connects them to their soul, which connects them to the flow of the earth and the universe. When we can remember that.
Why do you think people forget?
Many things, you know, many things. I mean, I forgot many times. Myself, we all do it. Many things help a person to forget, whether it's the way you're raised, whether it's trauma and abuse, whether it's pain that somebody's going through, victim mentality, whether it's society, whether it's technology, movies, TV shows, reality shows, you know, all the junk that fuels your mind. You become so disconnected, you start thinking that these things are real. When it's a show and people are paid to do these things.
That's right.
So there are many things that make a person forget. Then, you know, many times too, a person may forget because of the fear, because it scares them to do that. It scares them to remember. It scares them to awaken, because they know and they start to see things that they wanted to shut away from. Right, because they've become so detached from the actuality of what spirit and energy is, and they become so connected to what materialism and technology and all that is. So they become, this is real, this is not real, I need to close this off, it scares me. If I open up to this, it means I have to step out of my comfort zone into the discomfort, which means I have to do work on myself in order to awaken.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. That's right. And I was having this conversation the other day, actually, is because about, I don't know if you've seen what Bill Gates shared about the virus, and I really liked what he said, and it really resonated with me. And I was having a conversation, and the other person was like, I feel like there's a level of intelligence that people need to understand that. And I was like, do you think, like, I don't know, because for me it's about a level of openness, you know, and
explain to me what did he say?
You know, so he was saying how, you know, how this virus reminds us that we are all equal, no matter, you know, where you're from, no matter how much money you have. And it's a time for us to be still and remember who we are and remember our path. And it was a really well-rounded piece. And for me, intelligence never come into it. Into my mind, but there was absolutely a level of openness, because I honestly believe that is how we tap into our sacredness. So I want to ask you then, brother, what can people do when, what do I want to say, when they're feeling that disconnect to themselves and they're lacking that sacredness? How can people tap back in to that sacred, and I can feel it running through me now. It's like, it's kind of a turn on. Well, not kind of, it actually is. Sorry. And just having a moment with myself. How can people tap back into that? And, you know, when they're feeling like they're losing touch or losing sight with that, what can they do?
I guess how can people tap back into it? You know, it's when they feel that they're losing touch, they first have to identify the fact that they are losing touch.
Yeah.
Because if a person is losing touch with that, they're not necessarily going to realize it. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, a good thing would be having somebody who can hold you accountable.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's your partner, family, a good friend. Another way would be to, I guess, put a note, well, an alarm on your phone.
Yeah.
Put a post-it note somewhere, write on your mirror.
Yeah.
Check in with yourself. Check in with yourself each day. Check in with yourself. Is this where you're at? Is this your truth?
Yeah.
Is this who you are? If this is not who you are, then why are you acting that way?
Yeah.
Breathe. Come back to the self.
Yeah.
Is this honoring who you are in this moment?
Yeah.
Because in order to connect to the sacredness, you've got to start honoring the life that you live.
Yeah.
You've got to start honoring the relationships and the connections that you have.
Yeah.
Right? Because this is not about money. This is not about material goods. This is about energy. It's about vibration.
Yeah.
It's about connection to the essence of who we are and who we came here to be.
Yeah.
Right? So the way to connect into the sacredness and to remember that is to have some form of identification somewhere where it can trigger that, and you go, oh, I'm out of alignment.
Yeah.
You know, put a sticker on your bedroom wall or write on your mirror, am I out of alignment or am I in alignment?
Yeah.
If you're not, what does it take to get you back into alignment? Does it take breath work? Does it take meditation? Does it take going for a run? Does it take journaling? You know, what works for you is finding what works for you in order to return to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And then the thing is too, like, when you check in enough with that, you start to operate from a level at that. You start to operate from that level, right? So when you check in enough, it becomes, I guess, manual. So you do something long enough, it just becomes routine, right?
Yes, that's right.
So when you can check in with yourself, that's how it starts to be. And then you keep doing it, you keep doing it, you keep doing it. And thus the energy of that gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until you're walking in that embodiment as a sacred being that you are and came here to be.
Beautiful. And I think, and that's that level of self-awareness and self-responsibility, it's so paramount. How can someone support someone else? You talk about people who, ask, reach out, like ask your partner or ask a friend or ask whoever. How can someone let's say on the rim, how can we support someone who is going through something and still honor their journey in that, without coming in as the savior or the knight or the whatever it is in that moment?
It's not assuming responsibility over what is theirs.
What's that? Sorry?
It's not assuming responsibility over what is theirs to experience.
Yeah.
So it's offering guidance, offering insight, being a pillar that they can look to for connection. Sometimes it's just being that pillar of light where they can soundboard. It's dropping in those little seeds of information where they can, it's not condemning them for the way that they are, the way they think, or the way they're behaving, because at some point in time we've all been there. It's understanding the experience that they're in with compassion and love, and giving them those little seeds of life where they can go, oh, okay, asking them questions that gets them thinking themselves. Right? So it's dropping in and it's being that pillar of hope. So hope stands for help other people evolve.
Beautiful.
Right? And you do that by being the absolute shining light that you can be in this lifetime, so that whatever experience they're going through, you come from that empty, neutral space where it's just like, this is who I am. I'm ready to hear, I'm ready to see, I'm ready to feel.
Yes.
I'm ready to speak if I need to.
Yeah.
But most of all, I'm ready to listen and see where you're at. And then you help in whatever way is necessary at that time, because each time is different.
Yes.
For some, it's just listening.
So true.
For some, it's a hug and letting them know that they're safe.
Yeah.
And then they go,
Yeah.
then they can continue on the journey. For some, it's speaking and offering them points of light, offering them signs of light, of guidance, so that they can go, oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, cool. I'm going to address this and I'm going to start doing this.
Yeah.
So whatever it may be, it's being that lighthouse that is needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. And that's
because we can't,
no, you're right, go.
We cannot force people to awaken. You know, we can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can lead a man to knowledge, but you can't make them think. So, you know, it's really being that pillar so that people can pick up on the ripples that you radiate from who you be, from who you choose to be, and from who you stand to be in this world.
Absolutely. And it's a beautiful reminder, and what I love about that is just that reminder of, you know, sometimes if it is your partner or your, you know, or your children or your parents or whoever, often as we come in as the supporter, we do have an ulterior motive, you know. So, you know, it is such a nice reminder to be neutral. And
it is because, you know, sorry to interrupt,
but you're right.
Because at times we come from what we think we know is best.
Yeah.
This is how parents and guardians are, right? This is how teachers are. No, it's not like that. It has to be done like this. When it's understanding that, hold on, you know, even with the work that I do, I don't, you know, oh, it has to be done like this. And it's like, no, tap in, ask your higher self, ask your intuitive self, ask the heart and soul of who you are. What is right for you?
Yeah.
You know, this is how we learn. Yeah, because everybody learns differently.
Exactly.
Right? So it's not enforcing our opinions and beliefs on a person. It's opening up the space where they can discover that themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And holding that sacred space, because when you are in that sort of vibration and energy is vulnerable. Energy is in a space where it needs to be held, which is why you create that sacred space.
Yeah. If you could share or advocate or be a voice of something, what do you think that what would you most like to share with people?
What would I most like to share with people?
What do you think we're craving right now?
Yeah, look, hope, love, connection, togetherness, community, tribe. What are we craving right now? Understanding, compassion, clarity, a pathway forwards. We're craving security, stability. And I guess with everything that's taking place, an advocate, you know, we're craving peace, we're craving gratitude, we're craving wanting to be seen, wanting to be heard, wanting to be felt. Advocate for, we were born for this. No matter what's going on out there, we were born for this.
Mm.
You know, no matter what happens in government, no matter what happens in society, no matter what happens across the face of this earth, we were born for this.
Yeah.
You know, my belief is that God, Spirit, the divine, the universe gave us absolutely everything we need to overcome anything that comes our way.
Yeah.
And they will never put anything in front of us that we cannot overcome.
I agree.
We just have to navigate it all and find the way that works for us.
Yeah.
Right? Because we are in the moments of change. We are in the Great Awakening. We are stepping into the Golden Age. And in order to step into the Golden Age, we're going to see these things take place that are taking place in the world right now. You know, these darkness, if people want to call it that, these trying times, these global events that are taking place, they are all shifting the vibration and the energy of man and womankind, of who we are as individuals. And we can choose to operate at the lower level through fear and negativity and victim mentality, or we can choose to breathe, bring it back into the self, and keep ascending.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You spoke about the golden age. What does the golden age look like to you?
What does the golden age look like to me? Golden age looks like to me, it's a time of coming together, of understanding, of peace and harmony, of the golden age is a time where brothers and sisters stand together as one, right? Where we tune into the soul essence of who we are, and we see that in our brothers and sisters. Our brothers and sisters being not only humanity, but also animal, right? All creatures of Mother Earth, all the children of the earth, right?
Yeah.
Great and small. Yeah, the golden age is and like personally, I don't know if we will experience it in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Because we can speculate, we can say, oh yeah, you know, I would love to. I feel that the golden age is an era of time the golden age is an era of time where we have the ability to see through the eyes of the universe the magic and the medicine that exists within each and every soul upon this earth.
Jama, absolutely. That's beautiful. I could just bathe in that right there. You talk about soul essence, and I'm really starting to feel like just the importance that is, you know, for you, and that's something that you bring out in people. How, you know, it's especially, you know, if you're in this spiritual, you know, the spirituality industry or world, and often, you know, it's become really bleh in terms of the, you know, the bullshit and the bypassing and the everything and the light and the, you know, everything else. And it can be so I want to say misguided, but it's just not it's not conducive or congruent to our soul essence, I don't believe. how can we begin to tap back in to that, to the purity of our soul essence?
Truth and compassion.
Yeah.
You know, because there is a lot of spiritual bypassing and everything else taking place.
Yeah.
And has done for a while.
Yeah.
You know, I mentioned last week through channeled guidance that I wrote, you know, everything that I write is actually channeled.
Yeah.
You know, it's nothing scripted. It's all just straight in the moment, bang, bang, bang. Sometimes it takes 5 minutes. Sometimes it takes a few days. So the piece that I wrote about last week is you can't bypass everything. You can't love and light over everything.
Yeah.
All right. Because for me, regardless, you still have to be skeptical, ask questions, question everything.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I still question everything. I have a strong connection to source, but I still question.
Yeah.
You know, is this in alignment?
Yeah.
Is this the right message for humanity? Is this the right message for myself?
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, you know, because you have to discern. There's a lot of information being put out there that are leading people astray, right? Or that are dismissing the reality of things taking place.
Yeah.
And it's up to people's own discernment and the truth of their intuitive nature in their soul, if that is right for them, right? So the way forward through with it all is, I feel, two of the biggest keys are truth and compassion, right? And what I mean by that is when any of that stuff comes up, is facing it with truth, right? If this is like, there have been times when I've seen a lot of things being spoken or being said, and it's like, okay, cool, check in with source. No, you know, and it's understanding that too, at the end of the day, what might be right for one is not necessarily right for another.
Absolutely.
Right? These are the tricky lines that we play with. Because it's not about making somebody wrong either. Right? It's finding a bridge within that of, hey, I see this going on. This is what I offer. And it's like, oh, well, thank you for bringing that to light, because I didn't realize. Right? Instead of, you know, boom. You know? And I will admit there have been plenty of times where I've been like,
and that's it. It's you know, it is it, and but it takes, you know, it takes such awareness and just to be able to stand strong in that, and you know, take these reminders as well as to remembering, you know, who we are, and letting people have their experience, but holding your own truth as well. I had a question pop up there, but I think it's escaped me. I am curious to know, what do you feel like hedonism plays in this sacredness and soul essence?
Hedonism. Explain your version to me.
Well, for me, it is about, it's a way for me to know whether I'm in complete alignment and tapped into my truth, or I'm in fear and ego. So for me, hedonism is a way to tap into, it's, you know, like the actual definition is, you know, to be in the pursuit of pleasure. But for me, when I'm tapped into my own pleasure, and that could be sexual or not, it's finding that in all moments. But for me, it's having that unfiltered communication and, you know, with God, essentially. That's what it is for me. But, you know, it's, I was curious as to
well, pleasure, joy, and happiness are some of the highest vibrations.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are amongst the highest vibrations. And when you can do that and still hold alignment to
Yes.
respect, honor, integrity, truth,
Mm.
stuff like that,
Mm.
I do feel that, and that, I do know there's a few sisters that I know that are in the field of, I guess, pleasure,
Mm.
divine, the divine feminine, that are holding strong to that, the
Mm.
sacredness of that,
Mm.
and shedding new light around all that, because for many years, for hundreds of years, it was condemned and ridiculed and
Yeah.
controlled by
Yeah.
the male species
That's right.
and others, right?
Yeah.
So for me, when you can live in a healthy alignment to pleasure, to joy, to happiness,
Mm.
um, yeah, you will live in alignment to the sacredness of all of it.
Yeah. Mm.
It's about having a healthy relationship to it all,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
there are a lot of people out there that operate in those fields
Mm.
that don't have that healthy relationship.
Yeah.
So it's very, what do they call it? What's the word? Toxic.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And I agree. And I think you really had the key there and hit the nail on the head is when you said when it's in absolute alignment, and that is absolutely key. And I'm reading I'm reading The Key to Yourself at the moment, and it might have been In a Return to Love, actually. Oops, I can't remember. One of those two is that, talking about how money it was A Return to Love. Money and sex isn't, holy or unholy. It's the intention behind them.
Well, yeah, everything is intention.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with money.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with sex.
Yeah.
Both of them are very sacred.
Mm.
It's what we're being led to believe, and it's how we're being led to behave in those fields and around those things, right? So when we can return to the true nature of who we are through our sacred breath, through meditation, through self-development, and return to that sacredness, we start to understand and open up to the possibilities and the infinite possibilities of the magic and medicine that money and sex represent.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So money's not evil. Money, you don't have to work hard for money. It's all energy. Everything is energy. Sex is energy. It's sacred. It's a sacred bond. It's a sacred connection. Right. So between two energetic souls, or more, whatever. Because that is out there too.
Yeah.
Um,
or self, like there's
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's breaking down the barriers and the limitations and the walls that society and could be your elders as well have led us to believe around money and sex.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. They're definitely two potent sources of conditioning, aren't they?
They are. And the thing is, there's that saying that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience.
Yeah.
We are human.
Yes.
Some of us, anyway. No.
Yeah.
We are human. We're here to have this human experience.
Yeah.
So in this human experience, we have things such as money. We have things such as sex, and many other things. And when we can find a healthy connection and relationship with each of those, whatever those may be, we start to operate from a more empowered and awakened state of being.
Yes, absolutely. And I really want to honor you in that moment, is because that is such sound advice, is because, there's a lot of spiritual leaders that I think dismiss the lower chakras or the survivalness or our humanness, let's say, our humanness. But I really love what you said there, is because we chose to be human for a reason. And, you know, and there are things that are available to us as a human that do bring us to absolute empowerment and awakening. So I just really want to honor you in that, because I think that as just that alone is so, so powerful. Yeah, and once we fully embody that, I think that everything changes, you know, in that moment.
Everything can change within a moment.
Yeah.
I mean, perfect example, we see what's happening in the world now with COVID-19 and the virus of fear and many other things. So things can change in a moment, right? It's about finding the switch within yourself, within any topic, whether it's money, whether it's sex, whether it's relationships, whatever else it may be, is finding, you know, if there are walls there within yourself in those areas, if there are triggers there, it's like, okay, diving into that, and it's okay, what's going on there? Why is that there? You know, is it because of a limiting belief that was instilled in me from a child? You know, because people told me that, you know, you'll never make enough money, money's this, money's that, money's that, or is it because sex is bad, you know, because you need to go to church, or, and it's nothing against religion, it's just an example, right? Whatever those limiting beliefs may be within yourself, it's asking, going within yourself and checking on those things and go, okay, why is this out of alignment here? Is it me? Is it what I've been led to believe? Is it, or is it true? Because most of the time, I guarantee you'll find that it's not true.
Absolutely.
These are limitations placed upon us that we are led to believe. And as long as we are open to our beliefs and our truth changing, because your beliefs and your truth can always change. What you believed at the start of this year is not what we believe now, right? Because we believed at the start of this year, you know, there's my vision board. I'm going to be doing this in March, April, May. I'm going to be doing this, and it's like, holy shit!
No, I'm not.
Now look at us, right? So as long as we're willing to face the unknown within ourselves, it'll be the greatest discovery that one could ever embark on.
Absolutely. I agree. If people listening want to explore and journey more with you, what can they do, brother?
So I have a couple of pages on Facebook, or there's Instagram. Those are the main channels that I use. My email is brotherra224@gmail.com. But mainly social media if they want to connect, you know. Social media. I do many things. So
beautiful. And one last question before we two last questions actually. Let me ask. You mentioned before that you are now. I've been pronouncing this my whole life, and one of my sisters just said a couple of months ago, and I was like, "What?" You mentioned before you were Maori. I say Maori. Is that like the Australian slang of it, or how am I supposed to be pronouncing it?
That's the foreign slang of it, yes.
Because my best friend is Maori, so where have I been?
Māori.
I don't even think I can say it like that.
So it's I'm trying to figure it out. So you roll the R like a D.
See, I can't roll anything. Oh.
So you know in China, how they had Chairman Mao.
Yeah.
So you say Mao.
Maori.
Ri.
Maori.
Ri.
No. Well, okay, right. I'm just going to continue with Maori.
Roll the R, make it sound like a D.
Maori. Oh, it feels so weird. Did I pronounce
Maori.
it right then?
Maori.
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 Yeah.
I'm going to have to work on that. I promise you I will work on that. Right.
Oh, good.
So anyway, going back to what was my final question. Yes, what is turning you on at the moment?
Hope for humanity.
Hmm.
I believe in humanity. I believe that, you know, as I said, regardless what comes our way, we've got this.
Yeah.
I have full faith. You know, there have been days where we have all questioned what's going on, what's really going on, what's going to happen, what can we do.
Yeah.
There have been times where we've all felt the uncertainty, where we've all felt hopeless, where we've all felt unsure, confused, scared, whatever it may be. And my advice for people is do.
Oh, you just muted yourself.
My advice for people is to set up their ritual practice to keep yourself occupied, mind, body, and spirit, where you're actually doing things to empower yourself, mind, body, and spirit, so that you can keep in alignment during these times. Because it's easy to slip out through food, through Netflix, through video games, through negative talk, because of everything that's going on. You know, making sure that you're living healthy in mind, body, and spirit, and emotionally. So that when this all changes around, when it all flips around, because it will, that you are ready in whatever way, shape, and form that is necessary for you. So for me, because I believe I was born here for the world.
Yeah.
Right. And my medicine and message is for this entire planet.
Yes.
And that is the stand that I make. I stand for humanity.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. And that's what a beautiful hour this has been. Brother Ra, you are. Yeah.
Before you sign off, I just want to say something.
Yeah, please do, of course.
So something that I always do to make sure that I'm honoring and paying respect and staying sacred to that, right?
Yeah.
So I just, through prayer, like to thank you, Renee, for you and your show, for having me on here today. I'd like to thank everybody that's been on listening so far, everybody that will listen. I pay honor and respect to all the elders and ancestors of all these lands that we find ourselves upon, wherever you may be, all of us. I pay honor and respect to the land, to the elders and the ancestors. I pay honor and respect to all of our elders and ancestors and loved ones that have paved the way for us to be here, including ourselves. After everything that we've been through, we are here, we are now, we are the change that we've been waiting for. We are the ones we've been waiting for. I pay honor and respect to our children and our children's children yet to come. I pay honor and respect to the north, the south, the east, and the west of all the children of Mother Earth, great and small. And I pay respect and honor to the beauty of this home that we call Mother Earth, of our guides, and our beings, of the stars. And just give thanks and praise to all life and all that is, for everything that led each of us here today. That is going to continue to guide us into the days of tomorrow. And I send love protection and peace over everybody across the world. Understanding that there is hope, that there is light, and that there are those that can help guide you through. I give thanks to God and the Holy Mother Divine for continuing to guide my path. May they continue to show me the light for this entire planet. Blessings, love, and peace. Light up the darkness.
Thank you. You are a beautiful man. You are a beautiful man, and I feel so grateful that we had this time today to connect and be together. Your beauty just echoes throughout the realms, and I really want to thank you for not just being on the show, but for all the incredible work that you do and how you show up every day, and your courage to be in your own soul essence on this beautiful path and navigate for yourself and others. It's so important, and I'm really grateful for everything that you do, and thank you for that beautiful prayer. No one's ever done that on the show today, and it feels absolutely magnificent. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Blessings and love. Thank you for what you do. I guess, these things are important right now while everybody is at home right across the world.
Yeah.
People are tuned in online more than ever.
Yeah.
So it's important that people have a lifeline of sorts that can give them hope.
Yeah.
That they can see that there are those still charging forwards.
Yeah.
That there are those willing to stand for them. Because we stand for ourselves. So this is why we're here.
It is why we're here. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you to everybody tuning in. You take care.
You too. Thank you.